Hello, elevator community. Welcome to the Elevator Entrepreneur Podcast. My mission is to empower my fellow elevator entrepreneurs in creating your growth plan, which is going to free your time, allowing you to rest easy. I'm your host, Sean Madden. I've had an amazing 35 years in the elevator industry, starting out in the field, managed several elevator companies, started, built, and sold Madden Elevator Company for well over market value, and serving as your NAC president. I've done a lot in the industry, and now I'm ready to pay my knowledge forward. Let's dive right in. Welcome, elevator entrepreneurs. I got Vong Keovongsa here from Elevator Services Group. So excited to talk to Vong today. He's got a lot of industry insights, and those of you that may have met him before, he's got a lot of energy, so it's always fun when me and him get to talk. Vong, take us a little bit through your journey, how you got in the elevator industry, and what brought you to today.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast. Appreciate the invite. I got in the industry in 2009. I was contacted by a recruiter. I knew nothing about elevators, just got in them, pushed a button, went up and down. They said, hey, would you consider an HR role working for a company called ThyssenKrupp that I couldn't even pronounce? I was calling it Tyson and Tucson. And then
That's common.
Remembered it should be like kissing. So then I said, oh, okay, that's easy. Just do ThyssenKrupp. And so that kind of kept me on the right track of who I was actually working for. I worked for John Renane at that time and stayed with them for about 5 years, running their largest region, which would have been the Southeast region, doing recruitment, HR, best practices, working with the executive team to get HR best practices rolled out and manage the region for them. From there, just progressed on through. I actually left ThyssenKrupp to launch Vertical Recruiting Group, and that was in 2014. I saw the need for a firm to focus on recruiting for the elevator industry specifically, and paused a little bit there to go work as vice president of HR for another elevator client, and then returned in 2018, right before COVID hit and everything, to run recruitment, and then subsequently launch what it is today, Elevator Services Group, providing HR and recruitment services for clients across the U.S.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you very much. This title, talent shortage, is such a broad topic, and it's not only hitting the elevator industry, it's hitting all industries. Tell us a little bit about what you've seen and challenges people are having, and maybe some best practices that people could do to help with their talent shortage issues. And take us through any thoughts you have about it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Talent shortage, it's interesting. When you say talent shortage, I immediately go back to right when I first got out of college. I was asked to go recruit 50 housekeepers in a period of one summer. So this is going back, I don't want to date myself right now, but let's just say the 90s. The talent shortage never goes away. Whether it's food service workers, elevator technicians, service sales, superintendents, there's project engineers, you name it. There's always a need for the right talent, the right person in the right seat. So I've made a career out of helping basically solve that for owners. And it really boils down to what systems are in place, who's doing the talent recruitment, how efficient can you get the right talent into your organization so they could be producing an ROI on that investment.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember one of the things you told me when we were working together a long time ago was it's a lot easier to keep people than it is to go find people. And one of the things I wish I had done a better job of at Madden was really trying to find ways to connect with people. I mean, we did a lot of stuff to connect with people, but it's hard because you're busy and you get busy and you forget that those are your people doing the work. And even though you were recruiting, you told me my best solution for talent shortage is keep the people I got and keep them happy. Can you talk a little bit about that?
When I was interviewed one time way back with this news reporter, I said to them that your greatest asset is your employees. And I know it sounds kind of cliche, but in the midst of trying to grow the business or solve other business challenges, I still see business owners not putting the necessary investment, not putting the necessary processes in place, not outsourcing recruiting when that might be the right solution. So in terms of building a relationship with the employees, that is so critical. And it goes beyond just the highs and the hellos. It's about creating a culture for why people want to work for you. It's also you, Sean, when you were the CEO, president of Madden, being willing to get out of your day to day, get out of your, I'm frustrated because I've got client issues, and really be able to focus in on what the talent issues are, whether it's a vacancy or whether I've got someone that might be considering leaving my organization. And I thought you always did a great job of listening to me and say, hey, we've got an issue with an employee. Let's get together in a room and let's talk about it. Let's see if there's an opportunity for us to get them back engaged with the organization because they're halfway disengaged. I really think it's about taking the time and also having an interest to really focus in on the talent side of the business. Just like if it was a client side of the business, we drop everything for that. We might have our top technician that's looking to leave, and we need to drop everything for that to address that too.
Yeah, and sometimes it's emotional. So you feel like you got a really solid person and they're a good friend and they're working for you and they're doing good work. I've heard a ton of these stories, not only in my company, but other companies. And then somebody offers them a couple dollars more and they're like, we're leaving. It's like, wait a minute, where's the loyalty? What happened? And I think it's good to have an outside resource. And that's one of the ways you helped me a lot because I was emotionally invested. And sometimes your emotions are making decisions as opposed to facts. So it helped me to separate that. I would encourage people to look at that when they have talent situations to get somebody outside of the organization and tell the story because they'll see a different perspective, even if it's your family member, because a lot of times you're just caught up in the emotion and you don't see what's going on. But as far as talent shortage itself, it's not going away. There's going to continually be a talent shortage. The kids didn't grow up working in the backyard tinkering with their cars like I did and my dad did. And it's just a different world. Gaming came in and technology and all this stuff. However, it's also changed where working on elevators is different. You don't have as much relay and contacts and all that kind of stuff. The elevator tells you what's wrong, you change your board. So one of the things that we did at Madden Elevator was we started looking at recruiting more electronic technical people. But what are some best practices you can think of that companies might be able to look at in terms of dealing with the talent shortage, or where to go find some of that talent, or how to bring that talent in and train it? What are your thoughts there?
So a lot of what we're seeing, actually, there's been a significant shift as I deal with existing clients of ours, as well as clients that may consider using us. One of the first things I like to get out front at some of the best practices is that we need to change our perspective of what we need to do as an organization, our client's organization, to attract talent. Because it used to be, I'll hear stories about, well, somebody referred somebody and they applied to us, or an uncle or a brother or a sister of our top technician. We used to be able to get talent that way, but that's kind of dried up, right? And that to me has actually dried up a long time ago. It's just some organizations face it sooner rather than later. And so there needs to be a significant effort into branding your opportunities. It's no longer going to cut it that you're going to get those natural referrals for a candidate that you may be able to train to become your future technician, your future salesperson, your future accounting person. It seemed like we could always just hire in the family and keep it in the family, but that's not going to work. And so how do we reach out to a candidate maybe sitting in Kansas or maybe sitting in Texas, and we're in Florida or we're in the Carolinas, etc.? So I think there needs to be an openness to really look at changing the way we've traditionally done things when it comes to recruitment, an out-of-the-box way of looking at it. So if you're not going to outsource it, you're going to need to look at the various technologies that are out there to be able to reach those candidates and brand those opportunities. We certainly do that for our clients to take it off their desk, but if you're not going to outsource recruitment, that's something you want to do. Also, it's important to have someone own the recruiting process, because oftentimes that is a very busy hiring manager that's given the hiring manager title, but that person already has 4 other jobs that they're handling. And so recruitment takes a back seat, but talent is what drives your business. So you're going to be caught having to say, well, what happened? I gave the recruiting responsibilities to my service manager and nobody's coming through the door. Well, that's because he or she's probably dealing with client issues or field issues and chasing down a candidate and maybe ghosting them or not returning their calls is not on top of their list. So have someone own that recruitment process. And then lastly, I would say, look at outsourcing. If it's not with our firm, look at outsourcing with another firm. Outsourcing could offer a relief from the day-to-day responsibilities of recruitment. It could also bring in a network of candidates that you may not otherwise be seeing. And it also could allow you to focus on growing your business. What I'm seeing is a very bad investment decision for a business owner to take on recruiting. It's a no-win, money drain, non-revenue activity. Either have someone in-house do it or outsource it, because the business owner needs to get out of recruitment.
Yeah, I think a lot of time as business owners, they feel like, well, I can figure it out. And once I meet them, I'll pretty good judge of character. I can tell if they're going to be good people or not. And I think, at least from my perspective, I struggled with, you can't be everywhere all the time. And actually, as you grow, you're not the one working with that person. And so one of the things that I learned through the journey was having my managers also interview people that we bring in the door and taking a longer time to go through the process of hiring. They say hire slow and fire fast. Finding the right person with the right mix of chemistry to mix with the company and the talent to fit in the organization, right person, right seat is a big thing. Oftentimes people get busy and they're like, I got this work and I need somebody yesterday. So they do what I call the mirror test. The mirror test is they walk through the door and you put a mirror underneath their nose, and if it fogs up and they're breathing, hire them. And that's never worked well. I've done it. It's a bad decision. But talk a little bit about some best practices. So you get somebody coming through the door. How would an elevator entrepreneur take them through a process that's really solid?
We're a big fan of multi-stage interviews. Some of our clients do not do it. Some of them do it very well. We actually discourage quick hiring decisions, even though they're our candidate. We would love to get them through the process. I've seen cases where hiring managers, I think they would take longer to choose the right tomato in a produce aisle than they would to make a hiring decision. It's like, okay, we like them. They're an elevator guy. Here's the offer. Are you sure about this? Yeah, we really need them. So I do believe that if you can at least do 2 minimum, the first interview, second interview, 3 is ideal if you can do it, because you might want to bring your lead technician in or something like that, or your sales manager into the equation. If it's not a technician role, an accounting or finance, whichever, because we do support across the areas, all levels. But I like the multi-stage interview process. I also like here, in some cases, we're helping ask specific questions, behavioral questions about how would you handle this specific situation, as opposed to, hey, what controllers have you worked on?
Right.
Actually put them to the test, give them those behavioral based and scenario based interview questions, because everyone knows yes, no as an answer, but not everybody could walk you through A, B, C, D, E actions that they would take when they come across a problem. That really helps you determine if they are just BSing you or they really know what they're talking about, right? So I really just believe in that structured interview with the behavioral mixed in and the multi-tiered, multi-stage interview, if you can do it, because at the end of the day, your average investment is around $50,000 to $150,000 on talent. That's probably more than most of your luxury vehicles, certainly more than a lot of your other decisions you make for your business. It's probably one of your top investments. So take the time, like you said, Sean, appropriately, to be disciplined enough to take the time to make those multi-stage interviews. We do have a client that does that. We won't tell you who does it. They do it very well. They do initial interview, then they do a assessment, and then they do some behavior interviewing, and they also do a final interview with the top level of that organization. And even despite doing all that, Sean, we've seen some turnover, but not where near catastrophic or tumultuous where it is impacting the business significantly. We've seen it work.
You've taught me that too. I think the last interview I made at Madden Elevator, I was the 5th interview. And quick story, the guy came in and met me at Starbucks, and he's like, man, I feel like I already got this job. I've been through 4 interviews and I'm finally meeting the owner, and I'm thinking this is the end of the stage. And ironically, this homeless guy came up and he started talking to him, and he was like, man, you got any money? And he's like, I'm in the middle of an interview, man. Can I get back with you in just a minute? And he kept on and kept on. And he finally got him pushed away politely. And then he asked me, does that guy work for you? Did you set me up? And it was hilarious because that would have been a good test. That's a great idea. No, I didn't do that, but that would have been a good idea. So yeah, multiple interviews is definitely beneficial. I always go back to take care of the people you got, overly communicate with them, make sure you have a structured plan to stay connected with them. Usually people don't just leave for money. That's usually the starting point. Like, oh, somebody's giving me a couple bucks, but that's not really the reason, in my opinion. And there is a shortage. There's just not as many mechanics. People don't like that blue collar job, but we have one of the best, highest paying blue collar jobs. So oftentimes it's a journey where you got to bring them in and take them through the whole process of learning the industries.
Yeah. I'm not going to put lipstick on a pig on this situation. It is bad out there. I'm glad it's kind of bad because that means our business is needed and it exists. But at the same time, I feel bad for the owners that I work with who call me and I hear the desperation in their voice, like, hey, Ron, you got anybody? And I'm like, well, maybe he's a 70%er and I know we want someone who knows all this stuff. But that's the other thing too. Sometimes you have to hire for the immediate need today. We think that the old days of hiring somebody for life and they're going to be with you for 10 and 15 years and retire with your organization, that's changed. I mean, if you can get somebody to last 2 to 3 years and give you a return on your investment, meaning your hiring costs, your benefits costs, and you're able to get billable repairs out of them or get them on a service route or get them to help out on a mod job for even the next year. I hate to say it, but that's what you need to do too.
Yeah.
Not saying hire somebody that's going to cause damage to your business, be unsafe, none of that stuff. But sometimes you have to fight with the army you have. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of candidates do not have the same discipline when it comes to showing up for interviews, having well-written resumes, gaps everywhere. So as your recruiting partner, we're trying to troubleshoot all that, get ahead of all that for you, save you that time, and do the best that we can to bring ready-to-hire candidates to the table.
Yeah, my wife used to hate when somebody came in for an interview and didn't have a pen. She would just be like, oh, no, they just didn't come prepared. She had one person actually come in for an interview that didn't have a pen that turned out to be a great mechanic, and he's a good friend of ours. So it's funny that was her thing, but no, it's being prepared. And I think you just have to continually fight and look for the people that have the right skill set. And bring them into your company and have systems and processes and flows to bring them into the culture and then try to retain them. Put right person, right seat, try to retain them. So I really appreciate all your insights and inputs, Vong. What's one thing you want to leave our elevator entrepreneur listeners with?
I think I continue to create as a theme for this podcast. I appreciate your allowing me to share because there's so much that you can't capture in just a short podcast. But if there's one thing that I would like to say is that there's a quote I like to leave with: the only thing your competitors cannot duplicate are your greatest employees. But then in terms of a takeaway is to look at recruitment, getting the talent into your organization, retaining talent. Look at that as one of your most critical, if not top critical function of your business. Because oftentimes I still feel that it's all about getting contracts. It's all about taking care of the customer. And it's only when we are about to either lose an employee or when we look that we're 4 people short, that all of a sudden I get that phone call, like, bail me out of jail, Vong. And I'm like, my gosh, you haven't been recruiting for 5 years. And it really needs to be an active part of your business. And it needs to be treated as a critical component of the business.
Good point. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Vong, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Elevator Entrepreneur Podcast. I truly hope this information helps my fellow elevator entrepreneurs to build your growth plan so you can free your time, allowing you to rest easy. If you need help getting your elevator business organized for growth, I've created tools and templates inside my favorite business operating system that you can access for free. Plus, you can have a 30-day free trial of the software. Just head over to elevatorstrategichub.com/ebos. That's /EBOS to get your free access, or you can click the link below. Thanks again. I'll be back next time with a brand new episode on the Elevator Entrepreneur. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I will continue to empower my fellow elevator entrepreneurs.